Brandis, with former President Donald Trump's impeachment now over, Congress is hammering out the next COVID stimulus package. Here to talk about all of that and more are Congressman Sean Casten, a Democrat from Downers Grove, Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, a Democrat from Schaumburg, and Congressman Brad Schneider, a Democrat from Deerfield. We invited every Republican member of the Illinois congressional delegation. None accepted our invitation tonight. We do thank you all for joining us. And we'll start tonight with Trump's second impeachment trial. It ended with an acquittal. Not a surprise. Now House Speaker Pelosi wants a 9/11-style commission to investigate what happened surrounding the Capitol riot. This is something that President Biden supports. Let's take a listen.
Of course, Congress's decision to form this commission, as we've talked about a bit in here, but it's certainly one the president would support. And President Biden has made clear his views on the tragic events of January 6th, including where responsibility for them lies. He backs efforts to shed additional light on the facts to ensure something like that never happens again.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, you're on the House Oversight Committee. Why a 9/11-style commission with many members and millions of dollars when the House impeachment managers presented new evidence and you have criminal cases out there as well?
Well, I think the primary purpose of this outside independent commission is that it needs to understand why we had a lapse in security and what can we do to prevent that from happening ever again. You know, this was a life-changing event in the lives of staff and members of Congress, and we can't let it happen again, regardless of where the threat emanates from, whether it's foreign or, in this case, domestic.
Mr. Bennett. Congressman Schneider, what will a commission like this accomplish in the end, and will it be bipartisan, or is this liable to devolve into the typical kind of partisan polarization we see now?
Well, I sure hope it will be bipartisan. We've seen members of both parties talk about what happened on January 6th. This was an attack not just on the Capitol and the people working there. It was an attack on our government, on our Constitution, on our democratic republic. So we need to understand where were their breakdowns. This attack was predictable, it was preventable, and it should have been managed much better. How do we make sure nothing like it ever happens again? But then also, how do we take the lessons for the future to strengthen our republic and make sure our children's generation appreciate the fragile democracy that we have fought so hard to preserve?
Congressman Casten, as we mentioned, the impeachment ended in acquittal in the Senate. What was the point of impeachment, given that the outcome was never really in doubt?
If we decide not to do things based on what we think is going to be the outcome, we have failed at our jobs. Every single one of us, and I would submit even all the Republicans, knew exactly that this was a problem. You can listen to Ted Cruz saying when he was running for president that Donald Trump was inciting violence against people. He knows that. Then you see him during the trial going and leaving his position as a juror to go sit with a defense witness. If we were to decide that we should not honor our oath to the Constitution, that we should not do our duty to protect the Republic from someone who would incite violence, who, for the first time in history, members of his own party voted against him. Remember, when Johnson was impeached, no one from his party voted against him. When Clinton was impeached, no one from his party. 7 Republicans voted against him. They know where this is. We have a duty to protect the Republic from that, and while I'm disappointed that 43 senators didn't sign on, I think it's appropriate that 57 did.
Yeah, the final tally of 57-43 in favor of conviction. Let's listen to what House Minority Leader and House Speaker Pelosi said after the impeachment acquittal.
There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
If we were not to follow up with this, we might as well remove any penalty from the Constitution.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, another possible follow-up, a vote on censure of the former president. Is something happening with that?
I don't know. I think that, at this point, perhaps the verdict was censure enough. It laid out a historical record which everybody for generations to come will understand happened in a lot of detail on January 6th. All that being said, I think that the fact that 57 members decided to vote to convict the president is a damning statement about this presidency a twice impeached president who ended up leaving in ignominy from the Capitol.
And Congressman Schneider, you are part of a caucus that has a bill out there to combat domestic terrorism. Senator Durbin has also introduced bills to this effect. Tell us what exactly those bills would do.
Thank you. You know, this is the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act. Senator Durbin and I have been working on this bill going back to 2017. My bill actually passed in the House in September, overwhelmingly, going to the Senate to be blocked at that time by Ron Johnson. We introduced the bill. It will empower existing law enforcement, the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI, empower them to work together in identifying domestic terror threats, to taking steps to thwart these threats before they become incidents, and working to keep the American people safe. We've seen a growing number of domestic terrorist individuals or motivated individuals and groups. We've seen incidents, whether it's Charlottesville or Pittsburgh, the attack on the synagogue and other places, and then ultimately culminating in what we saw on January 6th with terrorists attacking the Capitol. We need to be better at identifying them, stopping them before they act, and keeping all Americans safe.
Congressman Caston, the flip side of this, you might have critics that worry about a bigger surveillance state here. Certainly there were critics to the actions taken after 9/11. What about countering people's right to privacy and fears of surveillance?
Well, we certainly have to be cautious, and I think it's a challenge that we have always struggled with as a country. You know, for the most part, when we're attacked from without, 9/11, Pearl Harbor, we rally together as a country, and we have sometimes overstated our surveillance on folks from outside our country. I mean, witness some of the discussions at NSA about the FISA reform. It's much harder when we're attacked from within. But make no mistake, we were attacked from within. We were attacked by people who meant to do harm to our republic. We were attacked by people who did not want to be governed by the opinion of the majority. And they organized to stop that. They organized in ways that our intelligence agencies were monitoring but didn't have the tools to combat. And I think good people, good moral people, can strike an appropriate balance between respecting people's civil liberties while at the same time recognizing that if we don't protect the health and welfare of American citizens, we're not doing our job as
in Paris, if I can jump in on that, you know, the bill we're talking about, the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act, it does not create a new statute. We have statutes on the books to prosecute acts of domestic and international. It doesn't create a new law enforcement. What it does is work with existing FBI, DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, trying to close that gap. We saw a failure of intelligence, of anticipation on January 6th. This tries to close that, identify the threats, stop them from happening, and importantly, reporting to Congress twice a year. So Congress and the American people know what the threats are.
All right. So a lot to digest in that bill, and we got to get to COVID, and we're going to do that a little bit later in the show. That's where I'll have to leave it right now. We'll be joined again by Congress members later in the program to discuss details about that stimulus package. And again, we invited every Republican member of Illinois' congressional district, but none accepted our offer. We do thank Representatives Caston, Krishnamoorthi, and Schneider for joining us.